Jack, can I tell you something embarrassing that happened to me? I stood outside a stranger's house for almost 10 minutes last month, ringing the doorbell, completely convinced it was my friend's new apartment.
Wait, what? How does that even happen?
Because I never actually asked her the full address. I just heard the blue building near the park and thought, easy, I'll find it. Turns out there are three blue buildings near that park.
Okay, now I have to know how this story ends, but it actually connects perfectly to what we're talking about today, because asking for an address sounds so simple until it isn't.
Exactly. And today, we're going to fix that for you and honestly, for me too. Our dear friends, welcome back to Rose and Jack Everyday English. We're so happy you're here. I hope yesterday's episode helped you. Today is day 23 of our 30-day B1 to B2 challenge. Today's topic is how to ask for an address in English. By the end of today's episode, you'll feel much more confident talking about this in real English conversation, whether you're giving directions, receiving a package, or inviting a friend over.
And trust me, after you hear Rose's doorbell story and mine, you'll understand exactly why this everyday English conversation topic matters more than people think. Okay, I need the full doorbell story before we go anywhere else. Start from the beginning, don't skip anything.
All right. So my friend Elena moved into a new apartment about 2 months ago, and she invited me over for dinner one Saturday evening. We were texting quickly because I was already leaving the house, and on the phone, she said something like, "It's the blue building right next to the small park. You can't miss it." And honestly, I thought, great, sounds easy enough. I don't even need the exact address. I'll just recognize it when I see it.
I already feel where this is going, and I'm already a little worried for you.
You should be. I got to the area and there were literally three buildings that could be described as blue. One was more like a gray blue, kind of faded. One was properly brightly blue, and one only had blue paint around the windows and the door. Naturally, I picked the properly blue one because in my head, that was clearly the correct blue. I walked up confidently, checked the buzzer list, and rang apartment 14 because that's the number I remembered from our conversation.
Only it wasn't her building at all.
Not even close. An older man opened the door after a minute, looked very confused, glanced behind me like he was expecting someone else, and said something like, "I think you have the wrong address. There's no Elena here." I apologized about 5 times, probably too many times, and practically ran back down the stairs, feeling my face turning red. I called Elena immediately, slightly out of breath, and she just laughed and said, "Why didn't you just ask me for the full address? Street name, number, everything. It takes 2 seconds." And honestly, in that moment, I didn't have a good answer for her.
See, that's so common though, and I don't think people talk about it enough. I think a lot of English learners and even native speakers sometimes assume they can get by with vague directions, using landmarks, general areas, or colors of buildings instead of something exact. But an address exists for a reason. It's specific on purpose so nobody has to guess.
Exactly. That's the lesson I took from the whole embarrassing evening. Now, every single time, I always ask, could you send me your full address? Or what's your exact address, just in case I get lost on the way?
It actually love that phrase, just in case. It makes the question feel so much less awkward, like you're not doubting the person's directions or their memory, you're just being careful and responsible about it.
Right. And that's actually really useful advice for English conversation in general, not just for addresses. Adding a small phrase like that softens the entire question. Instead of just saying, "What's your address?" which can sound a little direct or even slightly cold, you say, "What's your address?" just in case I get lost on the way. It feels warmer, more natural, more like something a real friend would say.
Okay, my story's a little different, but honestly just as embarrassing, maybe even more embarrassing if I'm being fully honest with myself. This happened a few years ago when I started my current job, still in my first month, trying very hard to make a good impression on everyone.
Oh no, I can already sense where this is heading.
There was a new coworker who joined around the same time as me. Her name is Priya, and it was actually her birthday coming up that week. A few of us from the team wanted to send a small gift directly to her house instead of giving it at the office because we wanted the whole thing to feel like a genuine surprise for her.
Okay, that part is sweet so far. Keep going.
It gets significantly less sweet very quickly. So I walk up to her desk during lunch, feeling proud of myself for organizing this little plan, and instead of asking clearly or explaining anything first, I just blurt out, "Hey, where do you live?" completely out of nowhere. And she gave me this look, this very specific look, like, why exactly does this man want to know where I live?
Oh no, Jack. I can already picture her face perfectly.
I immediately realized how strange and honestly a little creepy that sounded. So naturally, I panicked. And instead of calmly explaining, I said, no, I mean, like for a delivery, which somehow made the entire situation even worse because now it sounded like I was secretly arranging some mysterious delivery to her home without giving her a single detail about what or why.
I'm imagining her face right now, and I genuinely feel bad for both of you in this story.
She just crossed her arms and said, very seriously, a delivery of what exactly? And at that point, I had no choice but to quickly explain the entire birthday gift plan right there at her desk, which completely ruined the surprise for everyone involved because now she knew something was coming and basically what it was.
Okay, so thinking back now, what would have been the better, smarter way to ask her that day?
That's exactly the thing I learned from that whole uncomfortable moment. Where do you live is perfectly fine between close friends who already trust each other. But with someone you barely know from work, it can sound strange or even a little uncomfortable, especially when it comes completely out of nowhere with zero context. A much more natural, much safer way is, could I get your address? I'd like to send you something. Or even simpler and clearer, do you mind sharing your address? We want to send your birthday gift there instead of the office as a surprise.
That makes so much more sense when you say it that way. You're giving a reason first before the question even fully lands, and the reason instantly makes the question feel completely normal instead of suspicious.
Exactly. Context matters enormously in English speaking, more than people realize. If you ask for an address with absolutely no explanation attached, people naturally get a little suspicious, a little cautious, or just confused about your intention. But the moment you add a simple, honest reason, like a delivery, a visit, or mailing something specific, suddenly the entire question becomes just a normal, everyday English conversation. Nothing strange about it at all.
It's interesting because in my story, the real problem was asking too little, not being specific enough with Alina. And in your story, the problem was asking too directly with no context at all. Two very different mistakes, yet somehow they both circle back to the exact same topic.
True, very true, and I think that's exactly why this episode matters so much, because asking for an address isn't just one single fixed sentence you memorize and repeat everywhere. It actually changes a little depending on the situation, how well you know the person, and your specific reason for asking in the first place.
Let's actually go through a few different situations together because I think that will genuinely help our listeners a lot, especially the ones who feel unsure in the moment. First, imagine you're filling out a form, maybe for a delivery company or an online order you just placed. What would you naturally say or write there?
In that particular case, it's usually written rather than spoken, so you'd typically see something like, please enter your address, or simply delivery address, and you would write your street name, house number, city, and sometimes a postal code underneath. Nothing complicated at all, mostly just filling in small boxes on a screen.
Right, and if it's an actual person asking you directly, maybe over the phone with a delivery company confirming details, they might say, "Can I confirm your address, please?" Or, "Could you tell me your address for delivery?" Both of those are extremely polite, and honestly, both are incredibly common in real, everyday English conversation.
What about a slightly more personal situation? When you're asking a friend for their address because you're visiting their home for the very first time.
That's actually very close to what happened in my doorbell story. I usually say something like, "Could you send me your address? I want to make sure I don't get lost on the way." Or, "What's the exact address, just so I don't end up at the wrong building again?" I always try to attach a small reason because, honestly, it feels far more natural than just plainly demanding information from someone.
I really like that phrase, end up at the wrong building. It paints such a clear picture for the listener of exactly what could go wrong if you don't ask properly the first time.
Exactly. And it's something almost everyone listening can relate to instantly, especially anyone living in a big city full of similar-looking buildings and confusing street names.
Now, here's a slightly trickier situation. What if you're asking for directions instead of the actual written address? Like when you're already fairly close, but you're still not exactly sure where to turn?
That's such a great point to bring up because it's actually a slightly different situation from what we just discussed. In that case, you might say, "How do I get to your place from here?" Or, "Can you tell me how to find your building from the street?" These sentences focus much more on directions and movement rather than the written address itself.
Right. And sometimes people accidentally mix these two things up. They ask, "What's your address?" when really they already have the address written down somewhere. They just need clear directions from exactly where they're standing right now. In that case, a much better, more useful question is, "I'm already near your street. Can you tell me which specific building it is?"
That's such a useful distinction for learners to understand. Asking for an address and asking for directions can sometimes use similar sounding words, but they're not exactly the same thing. And understanding that small difference really helps in real, natural conversation. Okay, now let's actually show our listeners how this sounds in real life, a full, natural conversation, using everything we just talked about so they can hear it in action instead of just hearing us explain it.
I love this idea. Let's imagine a simple situation. I just moved to a new city, and Rose is coming to visit my new apartment for the first time. Ready?
Ready. Here we go.
Hey Rose, are we still good for Saturday? I'm really excited for you to see the new place.
Definitely. I can't wait. Could you send me your full address just so I put it in my map app before I leave the house?
Of course, no problem at all. It's 24 Willow Street, apartment 6, near the small bakery on the corner.
Perfect. Got it. Is it easy to find from the main train station or should I take a taxi?
Honestly, it's about a 15-minute walk from the station. But if it's raining, I'd just take a short taxi ride. It's really not far at all.
Great. That's really helpful. Thank you. I'll message you once I leave the station just in case I get a little confused on the way.
Perfect. And Rose, once you're near Willow Street, if you don't see the building number clearly, just look for the bakery. Our building is right next to it, painted a light yellow color.
That's such a helpful little detail. Thank you. Okay, let's try a slightly different situation now. Imagine you're a coworker and I need to send you something for your birthday, and I want to ask your address politely without making things awkward.
Okay, I'm ready. Go ahead.
Hi, I hope this isn't a strange question, but would you mind sharing your address with me? A few of us wanted to send your birthday gift directly to your home this year instead of bringing it to the office.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you so much. Sure, no problem at all. It's 15 Oak Avenue, second floor, right side apartment.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. I promise it's nothing too big, just a small surprise from all of us.
That's really sweet. I genuinely appreciate you thinking of me like that.
See how different that felt? Giving a reason first completely changed the entire tone of the question. It didn't feel strange at all. It actually felt thoughtful and warm.
Exactly. And now let's try one more situation. Something a little more formal, maybe confirming an address over the phone with a delivery company.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Good afternoon. This is regarding your recent online order. Could I confirm your delivery address, please?
Of course. It's 32 Elm Road, apartment 4B, and the postal code is 12345.
Thank you very much. And just to confirm, is there a specific building entrance we should use or any delivery instructions we should know?
Yes, actually, please use the side entrance. The main door is often locked during the day.
Perfect. That's very helpful. Thank you for confirming everything so clearly.
I love how naturally that flowed. Notice how in each situation, the words changed slightly, but the structure stayed clear, polite, and specific every single time.
Exactly, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from this whole practice section. Whether it's a friend, a coworker, or a delivery company, the pattern is always similar. A small reason, a clear, polite question, and specific details in response.
Let's try one final situation, something a bit more casual. Imagine we're at a party and I just met someone new and we want to stay in touch, maybe visit each other someday.
Nice, let's do it.
It was really lovely meeting you tonight. If you're ever free, you should come visit sometime. We could grab coffee near my place.
I'd really love that. Thank you for inviting me. Could you give me your address on time just so I have it saved for whenever I'm in that area?
Of course, that would be lovely. It's 41 Birch Lane, right across from the small park with the fountain.
That sounds like such a nice area. I'll definitely message you the next time I'm nearby.
I really hope you do. It would be so nice to see you again.
See, even in a casual social situation like that, the same natural pattern works perfectly. A warm comment first, then a polite request for the address, then a clear, friendly answer.
I think our listeners now have four completely different situations to compare. A close friend visiting for the first time, a coworker for a birthday surprise, a formal delivery confirmation, and a casual new friendship. Each one uses slightly different words, but the same comfortable structure underneath.
Exactly. And now that we've heard all of that naturally, let's slow things down a little and properly review some of the key expressions that came up throughout today's conversation.
Let's start with, could you send me your full address? This is a polite, extremely common way to ask someone for their complete address, especially over text or phone. A common mistake learners make is saying, send me your address, without could, which sounds much more like a command than a friendly request.
Next, just in case. We use this several times today, and it simply means as a precaution or to be safe. For example, I'll bring an umbrella just in case it rains later. It softens whatever sentence comes before it, making requests feel more relaxed.
Another one, do you mind sharing your address? This is a slightly more polite, slightly more formal way to ask, especially useful with coworkers or people you don't know very well yet. A common mistake is forgetting the word sharing and just saying, do you mind your address, which isn't correct grammar at all.
We also used end up at the wrong place or end up at the wrong building. This phrase describes an unwanted result, arriving somewhere by mistake. A more natural alternative sometimes used is accidentally go to the wrong place, which means basically the same thing.
Let's talk about, could you tell me how to find your building? This shifts the focus from the written address toward directions and movement. A common mistake is using this phrase when you actually already know the address, when really you should simply ask for directions instead, since they serve slightly different purposes.
Another useful one, could I confirm your address, please? This is very common in formal or customer service situations, like deliveries or bookings. It sounds professional and polite, much better than simply saying, what's your address, which can feel too blunt in formal settings.
We also heard, would you mind sharing your address with me? Very similar to before, but even gentler. Often used when the topic feels slightly personal, like sending a gift. A common mistake is skipping with me, which makes the sentence feel incomplete.
Let's not forget, it's fine, no problem at all. A warm, reassuring response often used right after someone shares their address, showing appreciation and comfort. It keeps the conversation feeling friendly rather than transactional.
And finally, I'll message you once I leave. A really useful phrase showing a plan connected to timing. It reassures the other person, and it's incredibly common in everyday English conversation, whether you're visiting a friend or meeting someone new.
These expressions might feel small individually, but together they completely shape how natural and confident you sound whenever you're asking for or giving an address in English.
Let's go through a few common mistakes B1 learners often make with this exact topic. First one, incorrect. Where you live. Correct. Where do you live? Learners often forget the helping verb do when forming questions, which changes the entire structure of the sentence.
Second mistake, incorrect. Give me your address. Correct. Could you give me your address, please? The incorrect version sounds like a command, almost rude, while adding could and please instantly makes it polite and appropriate for almost any situation.
Third one, incorrect. What is your address it? Correct. What is your address? Sometimes learners accidentally add an extra pronoun at the end, which isn't necessary and actually confuses the sentence.
Fourth mistake, incorrect. I live in Street Oak Avenue. Correct. I live on Oak Avenue. Many learners use in instead of on before a street name, which is a very common and completely understandable error, but definitely worth practicing correctly.
Fifth one, incorrect. Send me where you live. Correct. Could you send me your address? This mistake usually comes from translating directly from another language, but in English, we ask for the address itself, not literally where you live in written form.
These mistakes are extremely common. Honestly, almost everyone makes at least one of them while learning. So if you notice yourself doing any of these, don't worry at all. That's completely normal. And now you know exactly how to correct it.
Now, here's today's comment challenge for all of you listening. We want you to write in English a short message asking a friend for their address because you're planning to visit them for the very first time.
Try to include at least one polite phrase we discussed today, like just in case or could you send me, and try to add a small reason for asking, just like we practiced in today's episode.
Feel free to make it fun. Maybe you're visiting for a birthday or just to see their new home, whatever feels natural to you. Write it exactly how you would say it to a real friend.
Post your answer in the comments below, and if you're comfortable, read a few other people's answers too. Sometimes seeing how others phrase things helps you improve even faster.
We genuinely read as many comments as we can, and we love seeing your progress every single day. So don't be shy. Practice really is the fastest way to build real confidence in English speaking.
Thank you, friends, for listening to our today's episode. I hope you learned something from it. Don't miss tomorrow's episode, day 24 of the B1 to B2 challenge. Subscribe now so you don't fall behind.
Every single day you spend practicing with us brings you one step closer to speaking English naturally and confidently. And today's topic is something you'll genuinely use again and again in real life.
If today's episode helped you, please give it a like, share it with a friend who's also learning English, and leave a comment telling us your biggest takeaway from today.
We're so proud of everyone who stayed consistent through this challenge so far. Real progress happens exactly like this. Small steps every single day, and you're doing amazing.
See you tomorrow, friends. Same time, same place, ready for another day of real English conversation and real progress together.